How often have you told yourself, well, damn, why didn't I think of that? Or damn, how could I have forgotten about that one? Well, that's what happened to me after I posted my last video. So rather than making a part 2, I thought that these schemes would make more sense to be included in this one. So today, here are the most underrated and forgotten about open-wheel modified paint schemes. Starting off, we have the 1993 number 27 modified for John Leedy. Now, I'll be honest, looking up information for this car was a real pain in the ass. I mean, just finding photos and videos was near impossible. And as far as information, it's pretty scarce, so bear with me. This paint scheme first came to mind when I saw the little die-cast car, and it has reminded me that it was the first ever die-cast modified I purchased with my own money. I swear at like 8 years old, I went to the Stafford Speedway Souvenirs booth and bought it fully based on looks, not even knowing who raced it and when it was raced, because it definitely wasn't on track in 2004. Anyway, the car has this cool greenish teal base color with big numerals that are colored yellow that is the brightest and most pronounced in the middle and gets lighter on the top and bottom. There is a thin brown strip on the middle of the door, and I think the contrasting colors is awesome. It is really stylish and stands out. You can tell it has aged as it has the 90s written all over it. But with a lack of green race cars due to the stigma that green is bad luck, I think the color choice is great. Leedy never won in this paint scheme, as he won all his races in the number 25 car that season and the following season. Nonetheless, I think it is forgotten about because it was in the shadow of the 25 car Leedy is known for. Up next is the late 90s and mid-2000s Gary Creddy-owned modified. This team won everything in the 1999 NASCAR Modified Tour season with Tony Hirschman. Then in 2001, Ted Christopher drove it and won the Thompson World Series. Then the car moved to the ROC Tour and was able to win the 2011 Oswego 200 with driver Zane Ziner. I prefer the 2011 paint scheme with the number 29 because the main body color was a matte gray platinum mix, and the narrow orange stripe with the tall black stripe really brings the car out. The white numbers with the orange outlines help complete the look. The black wheels and Nerf bars help complete the serious aggressive vibe I get when I see the car. And the fact this car debuted in the fall really gives me the spooky season feeling, and it just works. Now, it might be the angle of the video, but I think the body panels are sleeker in the rear and really improves the look of the car over the other version. Now, the version of the car numbered 25 has a more gloss wrap and it shines a lot more, as the color choice complements the brighter sheen choice. The silver base with the red stripe and aqua blue to navy gradients on the doors really look great, and the thinner numbers look cool. I'm not sure if this team is still around, racing in Pennsylvania and New York, but it is a sweet-looking car. The mid-2010s era ROC modified paint scheme for Patrick Emmerling is my preferred paint scheme of all his schemes, with the exception of his current 07 car. Now, I understand that is a major hot take and unpopular opinion, but hear me out. The pinkish, orange-colored doors really direct my eyes to this car, and the light blue numerals complete the look very tastefully. The white base for the body is a pretty good color. However, I wonder how good a silver would do with chrome Nerf bars rather than black. I think a stripe down the hood would have helped as well. I believe this was a team car to Jan Leedy, and he won the US Open at Lancaster Speedway and the Richie Evans Memorial at Oswego Speedway. He had the same sponsorship with Buffalo Auto Auctions, and the design is simpler than the 2015 scheme he had on the Modified Tour. Less stripes and one big block stripe looked better in my opinion, and I wish this car was raced on the tour so I could have seen it, since I don't go to the ROC races in Pennsylvania and New York. The black and neon scheme had a bit too many graphics for me, and using neon was starting to get a bit too common and old by then as well. So red, white, and blue racing schemes are unanimously liked by all race fans, and I'm no different. However, the 2007 Jimmy Blewett number 12 scheme on the Modified Tour is my favorite. I think this is a forgotten paint scheme because it was only raced for one season, and everyone seems to prefer the 2018 scheme he has for his own team. I like this one because the graphics are designed in a way to show off a special design without going for a plain red, white, and blue scheme. The only downside of red, white, and blue schemes is if you see one, you see them all. With no stars utilized, it can be considered mid. However, the way the number is placed toward the rear wheel and italicized, it makes the car look fast. The red zig-zag along the door looks cool as well. Blewett used this main scheme for his weekly Thompson Sunoco modified scheme as well. He won in the weekly division, but never won with this scheme on the tour. I wish this scheme was used again with his own car. The remaining paint schemes on this list are actually for SK Modifieds. The 2005 and 2006 Eric Berndt paint scheme. The pinkish purple body color with the yellow numerals really shines and looks fast. The Central Auto logo on the rear looked cool and fit the fun, relaxed look as well. The CD chassis may not have had the best looking panels, but Berndt didn't have to worry about that. He would win races at Stafford and Thompson in this car and be a consistent runner for the track championship. I wish Berndt would have kept this color scheme when he went racing on the tour in 2006, but he didn't. In 2004, James Savali was an aggressive rookie driver at Stafford in the SK Modifieds and showed TC that he wasn't afraid to bang Nerf bars. However, in 2005, he cranked that stuff up to 11. His paint scheme was a red and yellow car with very narrow brown numerals. I thought the color combination with the chassis looked pretty sweet. Maybe the numerals could have been a bit wider, but I thought it looked cool. Savali was always up front competing for wins. However, his aggression got the best of him, and by the end of the season, he was banned from weekly SK competition. However, he would get redemption in 2006 when he won the August Stafford NASCAR Tour race. I believe this paint scheme is forgotten about because he only raced it for 2 seasons, and he really made a name for himself on the NASCAR Modified Tour with both Don King and the Hillbilly Racing Stables. The 2006 through 2010 number 31 Sunoco Modified at Thompson Speedway is next. I prefer the orange and silver paint scheme over the later white and orange scheme the Monez family went with. Drivers Tommy Cravino and Rowan Penning drove this race car to much success. They weren't able to win the title, but were always up front, and the big black number 31 stood out a lot. I think this scheme lives in the shadows from when Ryan Preece took over it, but I still think it's had more track presence than the white one and was underrated. The 2006 to 2008 Bannister Motorsports number 6 Sunoco, modified at Thompson Speedway, is another underrated design. Driven by Jeff Malavi and Keith Rocco, the 6 car won many races and helped Rocco get a grasp of a modified around the Thompson Speedway as well. The team won 4 races en route to the 2007 track championship. I thought the design, even as basic as it was a nice design. I'm not a big fan of red race cars, but the sparkling silver numerals and blue slashes across the door look cool. Maybe it's just nostalgia that makes me like this paint scheme. The number 99 Hitchcock Pool Supply Sunoco Modified is another underrated design. It splits the car in half, utilizing gold flames and a gold top half of the car with gold numerals, and the bottom half is painted white. The original design in the mid-2000s had black instead of white, and for a long time I really thought that color combination was great. But towards the 2000s, they switched over to white, and it really brought the gold out. This car had much success at Thompson, and it even raced at Stafford. More recently, Tyler Hines raced it, but it had its best success at Thompson in the mid-2000s and 2010s. The final 3 underrated and forgotten about paint schemes I want to just ramble off. The 2007 number 19 SK modified for the Cannonball. Kenny Horton had this nice dusk blue paint job with silver stripes and numerals. He won at Stafford and raced a few times on the modified tour when they would come to Stafford and Waterford. The final two are both from 2007 at Thompson. John Blewett III in the number 5 and Matt Hirschman in the 48. Hirschman's car, I think, is super underrated as the paint scheme looks very aggressive with the dark brown color patches and numerals with the black body. I wish Hirschman utilized this as the main paint scheme on the Tour or in the ROC modified series, just to see if people would like it. I got to say, if Lay's Chips needed a paint scheme for the barbecue chips line, this would be perfect marketing as well. So there you have it. Let me know what your most underrated and unappreciated open wheel modified paint schemes are in the comments below. So long from the Speedway.